Hold on.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, it's your friend Adam. I'm here with Asian expat. He offered to do a critique of this ancient video. I did a debate with Vaush. Before Vaush, this is so long ago. So I'll let Asian expat introduce himself, and then sent me in DMs. He has a pretty good idea of where he wants to take this. So I'll let him take over from here.
Yeah. So I'm just an average guy. I'm 26. I'm not any expert. I did my undergrad in computer science, and then I went on to do my master's in business analytics at a B school, and I'm just a normal corporate employee. But I did come across this video over the last couple of months. I've been watching a lot of Sitch and Adam, and then I came across this beautiful video where before we get into the video, did you actually walk into the debate thinking he's going to come from a market socialist perspective, or do you think or did you prepare for you're going to go all taxation is theft?
I had no idea really. And Vaush, there wasn't a huge number of Vaush debates to look from. So I remember Vaush, I saw some videos of Vaush basically getting on and screaming at conservatives and calling them Nazis. And so I must admit I was a little timid because I didn't know if he was just going to start yelling in my face and just get totally crazy.
Yeah.
So
So
look how much younger Vaush looks here. Like it looks like he's aged so much. When did this video? When did we do this video? This video seems like it was forever ago. Let's see here. 2019. So just late September. Oh, I think it's September now. What's today?
At least in 2019, you didn't know what governments are capable of.
What's today? Oh, it's October. It's yeah. So September 14th. So this happened about 2 years ago. Vaush looks like he's aged 10 years from this picture here. I kind of look the same. I got even the same kind of room going.
Maybe less hair.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So before we start, just to give my political perspective on things, I'm principally ANCAP, but
really,
yep. But I do consider myself a classical liberal because ANCAP's not going to work. Let's be honest. Even if we start ANCAP from scratch, it's going to get back into becoming mostly a liberal society in the best case.
God, I feel like I need notes. Everyone always is. I'm so glad you're on though, because so many times I say something on the Sunday stream and people accuse me all the time of misrepresenting ANCAPs. So you can prevent me from doing that in the future, hopefully.
Yep. So it actually generally depends on who I'm trolling. So I'm generally a ANCAP to people who are really absurd, like someone like Vaush, who walks into a debate calling everyone Nazis. Like that's actually the reason why this debate is really important, because every time I've seen him debate with someone slightly right to him, he calls them a Nazi. Like this happened with Sargon. That was so painful to watch.
Yeah, I was there. I was painful to be there.
So I think both Sitch and you hosted that debate, I guess.
Right, but Sitch lost his internet, and it was just me alone with Vaush and Sargon for most of that debate, which was horrible.
Oh my god! So
that's how I got labeled worst moderator on the internet.
So I think it has something to do with the people who were participating in the debate. Like, I'll be honest,
I
because
agree.
Sargon was mostly really unaffected by all those accusations that he is a white supremacist and Nazi, and I think Sargon has come he has come a long way from that, and I don't think he really gives a damn. Can I swear?
Yes. Fuck yeah, swear away.
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually really the reason why I thought this was like super important, this debate, because in this, there were no accusations. People were mostly nice to each other. I think the moderators were fantastic. At the same time, there was some substance, but I I really got triggered in his
Mhm.
opening statement. So I
You got
think we can
triggered
dive
by
in. Yeah,
Vaush or by me?
by Wash.
Okay, because I guess you're closer to my position as because I'm a capitalist and you're a
Uh,
anarcho-capitalist. So you're further to, is it the right or the left? I don't, where do ANCAPs call themselves? Where's home for you guys?
oh, there's no home.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Politically
you go.
homeless.
Yeah, yes, exactly. You go further right, it goes into really dark,
Mhm.
aspects of politics, and it's only economically right, culturally completely left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. So you want me to play Bosch's opening intro and we can,
Yep.
this is so, I got to tell you guys, this is so cringe for me. Like I have never
Uh,
re-listened to this debate. Vosh's fans attacked me
mm,
for years
so
over reading a book.
yes, so
The
that I was about to say that maybe if you had quoted someone like Mises or Adam Smith, they would have been fine. They would just thought, okay, this is another crazy economist or a crazy guy who's read a bunch of books about economics. But you did cite, uh, I mean, a
Why
book
Nations
that's
Fail I cited.
yes, it's well known, but I don't think it's really used for any kind of debates.
Mhm.
That was really strange to me as well, actually.
So you think that threw him off the scent because, like, if I cited Mises, he'd automatically start calling me a Nazi, right?
Well, is Mises a Nazi? I don't think
Well,
so.
no, but Mises is constantly being cited by right wingers. Right wingers
Um,
fucking love Mises. Oh my God, they're all over the
I
Mises.
mean, I'm culturally like far left, so
Mhm.
I think it's perfectly fine to. Mises is an economics guy. Like you're going to
Right,
cite him as an economist, or
right.
more. I mean, ANCAP is more philosophy than just economics. So
I agree.
yeah, or
All right,
Austrian. Yeah.
let's hear his intro. Ah, damn it. I don't think I shared the audio. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
I got to
Whoa.
redo this. Go ahead, talk
Uh, as in? Mhm.
about Mises.
Oh, yeah,
You were
yeah.
saying.
So, yeah. So, I mean, Austrian economics is generally just it doesn't really give a shit about studies or any of the history behind things and how they turned out to be. It's just basically individuals and their rationale. That's literally what it is. At least that's my understanding. I've only read about. I think I'm in the third chapter. I think it's called Revolt Against. I don't remember. I stopped reading it. It was so boring. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Can
good.
you?
Well, I tried to share the screen and it's like this window crashed. So I don't know necessarily what's going on now.
Okay. I'll actually just simply paraphrase his opening statement. I think that's
Do
totally fine.
paraphrase his opening statement. I'll see if I can fix the window and then we'll
Yeah.
redo it.
So basically, Vaush claims to be a libertarian socialist, which is basically an oxymoron. But at the same time, what he says in his opening statement is he wants every business in the country, or hopefully the entire world, to be mandated to democratize their workspace, or I mean their workplace, or where workers get to own their means of production. And he literally used the word mandated. That's the last word you use as a libertarian.
Look, I'm back.
Oh, there's two Adams.
Yeah, I know. I got to fix that. Go ahead. Did you were talking all through that. I hope.
Yeah, so he literally used the word mandated, and that really threw me off. Is like, and then for the rest of the entire debate, he kept every time you bring up how it's authoritarian to do that, he keeps saying it's not really authoritarian, and you're only straw manning his argument and calling it authoritarian. And that aspect of the entire debate was a shit show, I believe, because he literally said the word mandated and across the country.
So hold on a second. Maybe I should re-listen to this debate. It sounds like I kicked his ass. So I accused him of being authoritarian, and that triggered him. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so I think at least during the debate, he was very, 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 very careful when he's talking about you know market socialism, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the way he was framing it is, you are basically decentralizing all of decision making to all of the workers in a business. But uh, if you're leaving things up to vote at a workplace, which is not a place where you vote, um, it's still tyrannical. Like pure democracy is tyrannical. Like, it's basically mob tyranny.
Hell
That's how
yeah.
I describe it. Yeah. So and the other thing was, he literally, again, I cannot stress this enough, he kept saying he wants the government to mandate every business to be a worker co-op.
Yes, that's
That is
tyranny.
inherently authoritarian.
All right, let's listen up here.
Yeah.
Let me know if you can't hear the audio, because I'm scared to like check it again. That's what
No,
made
no problem.
everything
Go ahead.
crash.
Whether it be politics,
I can hear.
religion, science,
You can hear it?
Yep.
We should be good then. Here we go.
you name it, we get it over. It's rolling.
Woo! All right. Well, thank you very much. A pleasure to who is open discussion now. We open discuss
any different.
You're good.
And I've dropped from this culturally talking about for reasons why. With that being said, DUI option.
I think we shall start with Vaush, who is
Sorry
for
about that.
socialism in this discussion.
Absolutely. Now, if there are any issues whatsoever with my video, I apologize. My secondary cam keeps seeming to cut out. With that being said, my voice is going to carry us through, okay?
See, I jumped off a camera too, because I suspected, like, I didn't know if Vaush was like gaslighting me with the camera thing. So I was just like, if he's not going to go on camera, I'm not going to go on camera. So
Yeah.
it's like the perfect tactic for him to go off camera, yell in my face, and while I'm sitting there,
Oh
just
my god. Yeah.
So I just went off camera.
Like so if you've seen Destiny talk to Lance from the Surfs,
Mhm.
he regularly calls him spineless. And this is what he keeps calling all of these Twitch streamers socialists.
Yeah.
And it's really true that so when they talk to Destiny, they're all friendly. As soon as they go back to their own Twitch communities, they completely shit on him.
Yeah, I don't like
Yeah.
that. I try to be conscious of that. I try to
Yeah.
be cool with people. So here we go.
Now, in regards to socialism, I often find it difficult to defend it or explain the reasons why I
Because it
appreciate
sucks.
socialist theory or believe firmly in the ways in which it can improve our world, because socialism, we're usually talking about a collection of very different things. And I've dropped from this call, haven't I? Can you hear me?
No, you cut for a second, but you're good.
Gotcha. There are a great many things that people often mean when they refer to socialists. We very often invoke in our minds the failures of civilizations like, say, the USSR, of Mao's China, of Vietnam, of North Korea, of Venezuela, of the countless societies that have in some way enumerated themselves the the progenitors of Marxist theories. And then,
Wow, this is a way different Vaush, isn't it?
He
He's so
was
timid.
He was strangely a bit polite, maybe early days, I guess.
subsequently have been committed to the dust of history. We mean so many different things when we say socialism. So I would like to be very clear with my terms. I would like to refer very specifically to one thing, and that is what I believe socialism is meant to be: collective ownership of the means of production. The idea that no matter what civilization you find yourselves within, labor is done. Whether you live as a slave under a pharaoh, whether you live under a lord, as a serf, whether you live under a capital owner or a monarch, you nonetheless see a distinct divide between those who produce labor, those who till the fields, those who work the factories, and those who reap the benefits of that labor.
If you want to chime in anywhere,
Mhm.
Asian expat, just
Um,
let me know.
just one thing, which is he keeps differentiating between capital and labor. Capital is literally labor. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, just because you got a bunch of property or money sitting in your sitting wherever it is sitting, okay, back in the old day, maybe under your bed, maybe today in a bank, but it's still labor. There's nothing different between, let's say, capital and a particular employee's work hours or value. So when he gives in 8 hours a day at work, that's labor, and he gets paid in capital, and that capital represents his labor. So all capital is labor. So
Right.
that distinction between capital and labor is very, I think they do know that they're not different, but they use it.
Well, I think he means capital as in wealthy people who are I think he means capitalist as in the person who organizes production versus the labor who's an input to production.
So if that organization is not done, labor is meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also that organization is done via past labor.
No, I understand. Like as soon as you labor, you gain capital. Like your savings account is capital.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a power dichotomy that has existed essentially since the beginning of human civilization. Some work and some reap from that work. Socialism.
Yes. Capitalists never work. Never do capitalists work.
So again, like I mentioned, I am a corporate employee. So all corporations have managers.
Yes.
Managers, like, is he trying to say managers don't work? It's actually insanely tough to be a manager than
Totally.
because you really have no power over what kind of work is done. You just have to trust your team.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's a lot of work.
Is unique in that it is solely capable of breaking us from that cycle. For in that system and that system alone, it is the farmer who receives due compensation for the farming. It is they who takes not just credit, but also full ownership of their labor. Same can be said with the factory worker. Same can be said with the service worker. Everything from the barista who serves you your coffee to the tech worker who designs and codes the next application to help us encrypt.
Can you pause?
Yeah, he's totally bullshitting, isn't he? He doesn't have a prepared statement. This is all bullshit.
So he did just say that a tech worker who is writing code is the guy who develops the app.
Mm-hmm.
But what is he coding on, and what's the platform, or what's the ecosystem that and how did that ecosystem get there, and also what is the exact idea behind the app? None of them belong to the tech worker over there. It all belongs to the business owner, or maybe a set of people who control the business. So this is really true about tech workers. When you join a tech company, you're not specifically going to work on one particular project. You're a software developer available for multiple different things, and that's what you're paid for. And the other thing he says is due payment for the farmer. So this is okay. Maybe we can get into this later, but
You want to go?
Yep.
Messages sent from one device to another, cybersecurity, all of it resides fundamentally on the labor of individuals. And it is that labor I want society to reward. I ask for this and this only. Though there are many positions I hold which may at times seem radical, I feel they are a very logical extrapolation of the values we claim to hold since the days of the Enlightenment. Our commitment to fraternity, equality, and brotherhood. Under every civilization, labor has been done. But we
Isn't that the fascist statement? Fraternity. It's not
Um,
brotherhood, it's liberty. Fraternity, and it's not equality either. I can't remember
So-
what it is.
Neither do I. Very
I know
honestly.
one of it is
Yeah.
it's fraternity, something, and liberty. Someone in the chat knows.
we have seen grievous consequences wrought from civilizations which have not duly compensated those who performed that labor. From the slaves who were brought over
Oh
here
my
in
God.
ships stacked high.
Yeah, you love the slave talk. Huh?
Oh.
I
Okay,
literally
so,
debated why capitalism freed the slaves.
So this is very, very tricky for me sometimes as well, because whenever I don't want to really assign color to people, but whenever I talk to a white person and they tell me that America is a racist country, or things like immigrants are not welcome here, but this is the most immigrant friendly country on the planet. And also, I'm an immigrant. I am from India. I came here like a couple of years ago. So,
Mhm.
and I'm not white. So,
Mhm.
the thing is, there are some aspects that are fucked up, but it's still one of the best countries to come to. Like, if Vaush keeps bringing up the slave argument for capitalism, so slavery is basically a marketplace for people, not property. There's a huge difference between that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like to hear. That's good to hear. I mean, it's only an anecdote, but it's nice to hear that America's not the racist shithole that everyone makes it out to be.
Oh.
Sometimes I wonder. I lived in New York for a long time, and I don't. How can you live in New York City and think America's racist? It's so impossible to fathom.
I live in Florida.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ron DeSantis.
Is Florida racist? I mean, Citral will
No.
not be happy to hear that.
I'm
Yeah.
friendly. I talk to my neighbors. I have fun with my neighbors. Yeah.
Los Angeles, same way. Los Angeles, fucking yeah. We're all humans.
I'm not a big fan of California
Yeah. Everyone says that.
because taxation is theft.
The taxation gets you, huh? I
Yeah.
don't. It's so weird because, man, I was born in California. I can't. My loyalty foundation is like I'm not leaving.
Do you see yourself move out of California at any time in your life?
Nah. I mean, I lived in New York City. I've lived other places. I lived in New Orleans for a while.
Mhm.
So I have lived other places. But every time I've lived somewhere else, I always felt I never felt like it was home. I feel at home in California. And it's because I was raised here. It's the place I grew up.
I get that. Yeah.
Like I go to places in California. I remember I have so many memories of so many places that like, I tried to buy weed there my first time and got ripped off. It's like I won't have that if I move somewhere. If I won't have that in Florida, I won't have any memories if I move to Florida, which is it's just sad. Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe I don't know. Move to No, fuck. Texas. I love you, Texas guys. Okay, I love all of you. America's a great place, but you got to admit, living close to where you grew up is.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. I'm sure you probably, did you grow up in India?
Yep.
So if you go back, you'll love going back to India.
Oh yes.
This is like,
I haven't been back in a couple of years because of COVID, but
you understand it.
Yeah. Yes,
Home
I
is
definitely. I mean,
home.
I obviously love India as well, like both the countries.
Yeah. Home is home.
Yep.
I like Tetris blocks to the modern era where we have record low unemployment, but more and more people have to work more than one job to make ends meet. All of these problems, while admittedly complicated and not in any way, shape, or form two-dimensional, stem fundamentally from a misallocation of resources, from a society which delegates to those who are lucky enough, fortunate enough, or connected enough to
be born in Beverly Hills, just like Vaush. Oh, sorry. Did I pause it?
own the means of production everything, and to everyone else, just what is needed to survive, because society needs its laborers.
Is it really just what they need to survive? I'm not sure.
So this begs for the argument where, if you think labor, like literally hard work, is going to be very valuable, you wouldn't have shouts. You'd rather dig with spoons. That's harder, and that's should be more valuable. That doesn't make any sense, because so okay, again, I'll start getting into things like uniqueness of labor, and that's how labor is valued, etc. But I think that's for a later part of the discussion, but we can go ahead.
Okay.
In short, I want market socialism. I want every business in this country, and hopefully the world, God willing, to be mandated by the state.
Did that motherfucker just say God willing?
So this is what triggered me, and for the rest of the
God
debate,
willing?
it kept bothering me, because I thought you'd bring up his opening statement where he literally said mandated, like the government to mandate, like that's how USSR fell, like the government mandated shit over there.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I have never listened back to this video, so I don't know how good or terrible I did. And I guess I had some rough notes going into this, but I was doing debates really just to get better at them. Obviously Vaush was too, because Vaush is not doing great here. So we'll see.
To be under the ownership of all who work there. And that is it. It is a quirk of magic, which I do not respect, that a man who has never set foot in a factory nor put his hands on a machine could nonetheless reap the wealth brought about by the hundreds who work within that building. And I would see an end to it.
Yeah, what's up with that? I guess that's like the shareholders he's talking about.
So if the man that did not set foot in the factory helped build the factory.
Yeah.
So
who do you think bought those machines?
And if the machines weren't there, the laborers are, what would the laborers work on? Like just because again, this gets into argument where hard work isn't really valuable. What's valuable is the uniqueness of your labor and the number of people who want it. There's a reason why in the US, let's say tech workers earn a lot more than let's say a HR manager.
Yeah,
because it's a much unique skill, tougher to develop. At the same time, it's something that's really growing rapidly. So everyone wants a tech worker, and not everyone can be a tech worker. That's how they earn more. It's not because they work 16 or 24 hours a day.
Supply and demand, baby.
Yep.
That is all I ask for. Market socialism. Equal and fair ownership of all enterprises amidst those who work within them.
Okay.
And then when we reach that society, hey, sky's the limit. Power has been taken from the capitalists. It's finally been given to the people. The dreams of the Enlightenment have finally been realized. And maybe from that point, we can move somewhere real crazy. But first, we have to get there.
But the dreams of the Enlightenment? The Enlightenment was about taking power from the capitalists?
Wasn't it
I don't
taking
know.
power away from people who mandate things?
I learned. Oh, yeah, exactly. Great point. Yeah. The authoritarians. It was about taking power from the authoritarians. People would march out and say, this is the way it's going to be, whether you like it or not.
He really did mention this, very, very, very misused word in economics, which is what's fair. So at least, again, what I follow or what I love in economics is the Austrian school. So when we talk about economics, we really don't know what exactly is fair, because let's say a fair price could be an optimal price based on the demand and supply of the product, but it really doesn't matter if I settle for less.
Mhm.
So a fair transaction is where one agrees to pay and the other agrees to sell,
Yes.
and that's all is required for fairness. Even if the other, so I can I can sell a diamond for maybe $1. That's totally fair, because as long as there's a buyer and as long as I'm willing to sell, it's a fair transaction. I'm getting ripped off, but it's still a fair transaction.
You're not going to think it's fair tomorrow when you realize
Oh
what
yeah,
happened.
but I mean,
This is the
this happened to a lot
problem
of
of
businesses.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people assume perfect information, which it doesn't exist. So
So
yeah.
that's specifically the reason why I really hate citing studies for economics,
Yeah.
because the only thing that matters, so again, by Austrian school, the only thing that they really give a shit about is the individual and a rational decision. It has nothing to do with an optimal decision.
Right.
Again, rationality is like, that's completely subjective. I can
Totally.
this is something that I wanted to bring up. Last week, I think I joined your live stream on Thursday and also Sunday. The optimal decision for me during that live stream is to watch your show for free. But I did donate some money and add some super
You
chats.
did a lot. Thank you so much.
So that's a rational decision. It's not optimal. So this is something. This is another thing where Destiny really struggles to explain to most of these Twitch socialists, which is a rational decision is not necessarily an optimal decision. There's a reason why people go for stock buybacks, things like that, where they are not really making productive investment because they don't see any productive investment. That's a rational decision. Even if there is potential for something like that, they're not going to do that because they're probably more risk sensitive and they're going to be much more rational about it. It's not an optimal solution, but it's still rational.
I love that, separating the two. Yeah, rationality and optimal, because I think people do conflate that a lot. People conflate the optimal decision as the rational decision, but a lot of times we don't know what the optimal decision
it's almost impossible to guess what the optimal solution is, even after you have all the information.
And you lose time in decision making. You're spending, how much time are you going to spend deciding which dishwasher you're going to buy, right? It's like you can't make the optimal decision there.
I spent a lot of time trying to read reviews about podcast mics.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Sooner or later, you got to make the rational decision.
In the end, I just looked at the one with the highest star rating, and I just got that. It was really a waste of time for me to go through all the comments or the reviews section where I couldn't understand half the shit.
I know. Yeah, exactly. That's the information aspect of it. Pretty funny.
Thank you, Adam. Your reply.
Well, just to steel man your argument a bit here before I put my argument forward, I do have an argument. It's based on the book Why Nations Fail: The Origins of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty by Darren Acemoglu and James A. Robinson.
Look at that. Vaush is like, what? He's got a book about poverty and prosperity?
I think even he would have been surprised by that opening line, because again, no offense, but I've never seen someone really use a normal it's a great book, I believe. I did not read the book, but I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but it's not often cited for let's say a political debate or
why not
for economics.
The book is literally called Why Nations Fail.
There could be several reasons why a nation could fail. It doesn't really have to be economics.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But
and
I mean,
go ahead.
Economics could be the primary driving factor, though, in many cases.
I think sooner or later it hits economics. Otherwise, this is a question. I have a clip on my Adam Friended Secret channel that I listen quite often. It's a very short clip. I think it's a minute and a half, and it's from the book Identity by I can't remember the name of the author, but he lays out the difference between whether or not society is driven more by material conditions or by philosophy. And I really think that is just a really interesting question. And he, in the end, has settled on it's both because there's like this feedback loop, because your material conditions can be one thing, but at the same time, philosophy forces you to interpret your material conditions. So your material conditions could be great. And if your philosophy, like the SJWs,
It's
interprets it as it's terrible and this is the most racist place in the world, even
it's
though,
the problem of abundance.
yeah,
When
exactly.
people really
So,
don't have shit to worry about, they find at least this is what I've seen. Like if I go to a normal small Indian business owner and tell him that you should really democratize your workspace, you shouldn't have any say, or you should leave it out to vote, they're going to ask me to fuck off. Like it's their business, that's how they view it. And they're it's a pretty struggling world, at least compared to the United States. It's really great, like all respect to business owners, but then it's not as easy as it is in the United States. I'll have to give that. Yeah.
I guess I have an answer to your I have a list of questions, and I'm glad you started off with defining terms, because I think defining terms is actually important. But just to steel man your argument here, are you basically saying you're against private property in the form of business because you feel that that's unfair? That encapsulates your argument pretty well?
Yes. As much as I would say it is unfair for a murderer to go off and for the victim's family to be charged.
nice emotional argument there, right? He just compared business owners to murderers.
This is one of the reasons why I actually like Sargon in a debate. He's really unaffected by any of these emotional, tangents that people take off on.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad.
Yes. It's not so much an emotionally rooted argument as it is an extrapolation from existing policy.
Well, let's hold on a second. This is what Doomer called him out for. Doomer said whenever Vaush says something is not an emotional argument, chances are it's an emotional argument. That's exactly what he did. That is exactly what he did. He made the most incendiary emotional argument you could make. He said, listen, letting business owners run their own business is kind of like a murderer going free. And then he turns around and says, it's not an emotional argument. That's just the way it is. What the fuck? Oh, God, that's hilarious.
Well, I would say if like for a murderer to go free, I would feel that very unjust. I would have an emotional reaction to that. I think justice, the idea that we want justice in the world, I think that's an emotional response, is it not?
I think that you can make very logical arguments for even emotionally impassive people that society should be organized in such a way to allow resources to be given to those who deserve it most. I suppose you could trace everything back to an emotional argument, but I think I could make decent ones even for people who aren't personally invested in the struggle of the proletarian.
Are you an evolutionist? Do you believe in evolution?
Can I
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
I should have listened back to this. I'm fascinated now.
He says that society has to be, somehow. I don't remember the exact word, but somehow engineered to have resources allocated. But in whose view? Like, let's say even in a socialist paradise, I don't work, but I still get resources allocated to me. Like, how does that work? Like, I literally slack off all day. Like he mentions in one of the responses to Sargon on this video, which is, a capitalist can literally eat, a bag of chips on their bed and still earn money. Like, you can do that in a socialist world where, resources are appropriately allocated and equally allocated to everyone. In his words, fair, which doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, because equally allocating when people are not doing equal shares of the work is not equal.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right,
Yeah.
you would assume that our ideas of fairness evolved, correct? That's where we get them from.
What do you think I am, a Hegelian? I think that our ideas of fairness are given to us by the ruling class in any given
Oh my
society.
god.
Oh my God. Given to us, right? When your
So a fair
mom
the
and
idea
dad
of
taught.
fair
I'm
the
curious.
idea
You
of
said you
fair
grew up in India.
transaction. Yeah.
You grew up in India. Did your parents teach you about sharing with your friends, or? I mean, I kind of got this sharing with my friends thing from my parents.
So apparently the ruling class is running a propaganda machine.
I
Like
know.
what the fuck is he saying? Like a fair transaction between two individuals, that cannot be determined by a ruling class. Like you can't make, again, it's you can actually do this to a 2-year-old,
Mhm.
where you try to tell them to do a thing and you give them something and they'll do it.
Yes,
And that's literally
that teaches
capitalism.
him. That teaches him fairness.
It- and that's not taught to them by the ruling class.
No, it's not.
He might call me as a parent, the ruling class over there, but that's literally not taught to a kid. Like it's just a rational decision that a kid understands. So that's the reason why capitalism, like, it's really amazing, because it's really, it goes back to your normal human behavior. It
Totally.
accounts for greed, it accounts for everything.
You can hear. I mean, I hear this in the grocery store. You hear kids. You hear parents bargaining with their kids. They're like, "Oh, if I get it for you, you're going to go to bed on time, right?
Yep.
You're not going to give me a hard time tonight." James from Modern Day Debate is in the chat. He gave me a $2 super chat and said, "Check your privilege, Adam." Fuck you, James. I'm not going to check my privilege. But you should subscribe to James's channel, which is the one we're watching this on, Modern
Mhm.
Day Debate.
So
James
I
actually
actually
set
did
this up.
watch. I actually
Mhm.
did watch another debate that they moderated, which was,
Mhm.
before I say this, I'll ask your people in your chat and anyone who watches this video to be very, very, very careful when you're watching that video. It's a debate between the serfs and JF. So if
Mhm.
you know who
Oh,
JF is, oh my god. So he does ask the question that no one else asked, which is workplace really a place for democracy? Like, do you really have to vote at a workplace? That kind of, because it's not a place where people are voted in and they make policy for a business to run. People are
Mhm.
literally hired. So you can't make that a place for democracy. But be very, very careful when you listen to JF's arguments, because he gets into some really strange stuff,
Yeah.
into genes, eugenics, and he actually tried to describe a poverty gene pool.
Yeah. I think it's fair to classify JF as a race realist, which I would like to
He
be
is.
careful about that,
Oh
because I
yes,
don't
yes.
want to throw anyone under the bus on, who's not. I don't That accusation is pretty harsh for
No,
most
so
people.
he
But I don't think
has.
JF would disagree with that characterization.
Yes, so this is what happened in that debate. So the serfs went back to, I mean, threw back this accusation at JF, saying you're, literally using eugenics to prove your point, and he
I know,
owned
and
that.
he's
He
pro
was like,
eugenics.
yes, so I use eugenics. That doesn't mean you shouldn't, um, you're basically saying because I use eugenics, you don't have to, uh,
Mhm.
get back at me on that. But he owned it. He anyone else generally, like, let's say, even maybe for someone like Sargon, if he had that argument, I don't think he'd ever make that. But if he had done that, I don't think he would own the argument. Like,
Yeah,
JF
totally.
completely owned it. Yeah.
Yeah, we criticized that debate on the Sunday show, Sitch and I, because it's just Lance is basically a moron, and
Yes.
Lance going up against JF is a race realist who's very smart. That's like the worst possible scenario.
Oh my god. So he I think he's a scientist. He's done some really big stuff in neuroscience, at least according to Destiny and
He's written a
his
book
past
on
debates. Yeah.
he's written a book on evolution. I have not read it. I got to admit I'm a little bit interested because he does seem to know his stuff in evolution, but
So
my thing is he doesn't like he's weak on the cultural evolution side.
yes,
So a
so
lot of his stuff
that's
can be debunked through cultural evolution.
yeah, that was something that I wanted to say right after what I just told, which is basically when he says, let's say something like race has something to do or IQ has something to do with race. It's not true. Even if it's true, it's going to be a really, really, really negligible percentage of the aspects that contribute to IQ. Like for
Yes.
example, if let's take India. Indians are really known for math,
Mhm.
and that's the same with most Asian countries. That's actually a cultural aspect, because if you actually visit India and an average household in India,
Mhm.
every kid is going to at least I'd say at least 50% of the kids are going to study some form of engineering.
Mhm.
And
Holy shit.
that's the majority of the population. Like majority of Indians do study engineering. They go into other directions later in their career, but they are always going to do engineering for their undergrad, and that really obviously develops their math skills.
Hell yeah.
So that's a cultural aspect, and
It is huge cultural aspect.
when you do math at that level, and with that amount of practice, or at least training, you're going to develop a very 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 good aptitude. So for example, so before coming to the US, I had to write the GMAT, which is basically an aptitude test for B schools. If you're an Indian, you're supposed to get 30 points higher than the average
Wow.
to get into
Wow.
the top schools. So that's how it's looked at.
Yeah, every rich white kid like Vaush always studies gender studies.
Oh my
You
god.
go into
Sociology.
I know. It's so sad. And
Yeah.
how is that not a cultural thing?
Thanks
They
thanks
think
to
the
James
biggest
Lindsay.
they think the biggest problem in the United States is racism. So that obviously
God.
that's what they're gonna study. Yeah.
No,
It's
I
so
think it has a
bad.
lot to. I think it has a lot to do with the student loans in the US. That many students are going to opt into things that they are simply interested in. Like if you're going to take out a student loan that's that you don't have to provide any collateral for, or because when I took a student loan back in India for my master's in the US, I had to provide a collateral. So there's a risk involved. So I need to make sure I get the right master's degree, which will give me a good return.
Yeah. That makes
But
a lot of sense. We need that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I generally hate every time the government gets taxes people and then gives that money back to people to spend on a bunch of useless things. I'm sorry if there's anyone who's a sociology major over here. I'm really sorry about that, but I'm sorry, it's not going to pay a lot. That's all I can say.
Jonathan Haidt is like the most famous living sociologist. And I'm
But
talking
how
about
many
Jonathan.
people studied sociology, and how many people turned out to be
No.
Jonathan Haidt?
Sociology has been ruined. Sociology has been totally taken over. I believe in sociology as a science. Like Jonathan Haidt is a social scientist. Economics is a social science. It's a behavioral economics. Yeah.
I don't think it's sociology anymore. It is in a way. Yes, maybe a decade ago you can classify it as sociology. I don't think anymore. Like I'll pretty much consider economics as a business major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like to point out it's associated that it's sociology.
Again, so I love Austrian economics, so obviously I'm going to still call it a philosophy subject. But
Cool. So we have to debate Austrian economics now.
Oh,
but
yes.
not now, but we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, I know that you're reading about Austrian economics. Yeah.
Yeah.
That they are essentially a product of the propaganda which is disseminated to keep us in line.
So if someone murders your brother and goes free, you think that your feeling of injustice is given to you by some overlord?
Well, I can tell you.
I'm killing it on this debate. I'm fucking destroying him.
So if someone kills my brother, is there a price that they can pay me?
What do you mean?
For my silence? I'm not going to press charges if they pay me a particular amount of money. Is there an amount? Could there be an amount for a normal person?
I don't know. I don't have a brother, but fuck.
Neither do I. So
Like
I'll
if you
probably
want to
take the
make
money.
it, if you want to make it my dad or my mom,
Oh my
fuck
God.
no.
Yeah,
Fuck no.
obviously no.
Fuck you.
Obviously any family member, you're not going to take money for
Dude, my
something that
wife?
gross. Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah, no, that's the thing. But these are good questions for Vaush. Vaush has obviously never thought of any of this. This completely, look, I just annihilated his argument that justice is mediated by some upper class. I just fucking wasted that argument. Did I not?
Yes, you did. The only thing again is okay. First thing, I think most of the people who watch this debate are Vaush fans, so they are obviously going to shit on you. And the other thing is, again, maybe if you had cited someone like Adam Smith, I think you'd have been the better, at least for the aesthetics or the way it looks. You'd have come out as the better person here. But if people really pay attention to what you're speaking, you obviously made great arguments.
I don't know. Adam Smith. I mean, Adam Smith is cited many times in Why Nations Fail, in the book Why Nations Fail. But Why Nations Fail makes an argument that was the argument that I wanted to make, and Adam Smith doesn't make that argument. Adam Smith himself does not make the argument that I wanted to make in this debate. So that's why I cited Why Nations Fail.
So let's say you get into an argument with an ANCAP. He's not going to give a shit about why nations fail. He does not believe in a nation.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah. Okay. That's a excellent point. But I don't give a fuck.
Tell you this right now here in America, our understanding of the institution of prison is heavily influenced.
Look at this. Dodge.
Not by this rational, just idea of rehabilitation, but rather a very base desire to see punitive justice done. And it is that desire for punitive justice that is allowed.
So I did a bunch of research in 2020 during the entire BLM riots about so it's true that there's some kind of systemic racism that perpetuated into, let's say, African American community over here. So when you look at the 1980 crime bill, is it 1980? I'm not sure. So the one where certain types of drugs were more,
the disparity
they have
the crack versus the powder cocaine.
The crack versus the powder cocaine. That so when you look at those crime bills, there was majority support across all ethnicities.
Totally, I know that. Yeah, because
So
actual Justice Warrior pointed that out.
Yeah, so this is actually very true today. So if you actually look at so BLM a couple of weeks ago came out against Joe Biden's government, saying they are going to repeat something similar to the crime bill with vaccine mandates. So or vaccine passports, because if you actually look at the stats again, this is something that could really perpetuate into another wave of systemically racist policy, which is basically, if you say any company that hires that employs more than 100 people should have all of their employees to be vaccinated, and if they're not vaccinated, they'll probably lose their job. Now, this is a huge problem, because if you take, I think New York has majority black people, or sorry, African American people not vaccinated.
So they're going to be the ones losing their job.
And down the line, there's going to be another systemic racism argument.
Yeah, totally terrible. Vanessa in the chat says, just bought Jonathan Haidt's book, The Righteous Mind. Well, good.
I
That's
actually
great.
gifted that to a friend. I read it first and then gifted it.
Where are my royalties, John? No, I'm stoked. I'm so stoked every time they should teach that book in junior high. They really should.
Oh yes. One of the most one of the videos that I enjoyed the most on the internet forever has been James Lindsay and Peter Bogosian on Joe Rogan's podcast. Oh my God. The way they explained things that they did to really, call out these horrible, so-called academic journals.
Yeah.
And there's actually a very great point that's made in that, which is they accepted and published a paper, and then once they knew about the both of them, they retracted the paper.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, because just because you don't like the author, you retracted the paper. Like that doesn't seem like science.
Yeah. They cite Jonathan Haidt in
Oh yes, yeah.
that podcast. James Lindsay does. We talked to James Lindsay, and James Lindsay, like, I have a bunch of friends that are total anti-theists, and they used to always send me James Lindsay's videos. They'd send me this one video where he just rails on religion, and I was like totally turned off by that video. I was not a James Lindsay fan at all. I was like, this is just your standard beat up on religion guy. Like, he's not adding anything new to the conversation. But he really took the Jonathan Haidt stuff to heart. And when we talked to him, Sitch and I talked to him on one of the Sunday streams, and I asked him straight up, and I felt a little bad because I felt like maybe this was a sneak attack question and he seemed a little put off by it. But I asked him, I'm like, you really were a big time anti-theist. Have you softened your stance on that since wokeness is basically becoming a new religion that's taking over, taking the place of Christianity? And he said that he had very much softened his stance, and that there were people listening that probably wouldn't like hearing that, like they were hearing it for the first time, which I thought, okay, that's a win for me right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of my friends are borderline woke, and I mean, I went to an American college, so
yeah, of course,
I have a lot of friends, and also my friends from back home. They're definitely far further off left compared to me on both cultural and economics terms.
Even back home.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
that's interesting.
So that's just my friends, though. If you take India, I don't think at this point so India is basically mostly culturally right, economically left.
Traditional, right? You would think. I don't know. You would know better than me.
The younger generation is maybe slightly tilting left, but economically it's all left. There's a far left, and there's just slight of right far left.
Right.
Yeah.
And by that you mean left as what's economically left? A strong social safety net?
I wouldn't call it strong social safety net, but in many ways it's mixed economy, but there are some weird aspects to it when it comes to, let's say, healthcare. Like, you will never go to a public hospital. It's not a good idea to go to a public hospital.
In India?
Yep.
So there are public hospitals, but you will die if you walk in the building.
I wouldn't say you will die, but it's not the best. So there are a few public hospitals which are great, but they're mostly in big cities and very unique. But most of the public hospitals suck. And if you really want to bet on your health, you can maybe go there. But if you want to be safe, you'll probably end up going to a private hospital, pay a lot more than what you'll have to pay if the public hospitals never existed.
I read that book, The Price We Pay, which was written by a doctor, and it goes hard at the hospitals for hiding their prices and being in cahoots with the insurance agencies.
So whenever people try to convince me that American healthcare is capitalism, no, it's totally not. It's socialist as fuck. Like, the cheapest treatments you'll get at an American hospital are all over the counter.
Well, the thing though, in the book, they had some terrifying stuff. I mean, that is like reeks of capitalism run amok. They would hold these seminars at churches to do tests on the people who were parishioners at the church and find out if they had this condition that could be fixed by a medical procedure that was covered by Medicare. But the doctor was saying that the procedure really didn't increase the quality of life in a noticeable way to actually have it done. And he pointed out 3 or 4 of these procedures. One of them was this nasal procedure. And I remember it in the book because he was talking about how he was at a party and this woman was talking about how she had this nasal procedure to repair this thing that is really not a big deal. I think it was like sleep apnea or something like that. And then I was just listening to a Twitch stream, some Twitch stream with Destiny, and one of the girls was talking about how she had the same exact procedure, and the girl's like, she can't be like she's 20, 21, maybe 22, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how is that not capitalism run amok? Not only that, she told a story about how she had the procedure done and they did it for the wrong nostril. So then she had to go in and have it done again for the right nostril. And I'm thinking this whole time, like, this is a procedure you don't even need to have done, according to this book and this doctor.
I really do think one of the reasons something like that could happen is there's so much social safety net for a hospital to be a hospital in the US. And like, I've seen people, one of my friends, when I was doing my master's my master's in the US, so she had I think is diagnosed as depressed. So she was, at least to my understanding, she was overdosed with whatever she was supposed to be given, and she legitimately had suicidal thoughts and things like that. It was really tough to even listen to something like that. And there's zero I don't think there's any accountability, because pretty much it's the insurance always pays off. No one knows the cost. You cannot deny a service based on cost. So I think this is one thing that's, I think you and Sitch really discussed in one of your streams, which is the price transparency is going to remove a lot of these bad cases where
Sitch, I keep saying that, but Sitch totally disagrees with me. I'm like, you're insane.
What? Why wouldn't you know the price? You should know the
price. First of all, Trump passed the price transparency bill. It is in law right now, and the Biden administration is not enforcing that. And on the website, they're forced to list their prices. Right now, the hospitals are listing the prices for procedures between like $5,000 and $100,000. That's the price of the procedure. That's not listing your fucking prices.
Yeah, I do remember that bill. I think it was in 2019. I thought it was scheduled to, set in motion in 2022, but maybe 2021. I'm not sure.
No, it did go into effect. Okay. I think it went into effect 2021. I want to address, there's a couple here. Troll with a Purpose says, capitalism doesn't run amok. Oh, wait, no, maybe it's this one. Blaming capitalism is like blaming toasters for the downfall of the West. Yeah, I need to be clear here. And another one, Fozimo says, greed only exists under capitalism. I don't want what I'm saying to be misconstrued as an attack on capitalism. It is greed. It is corruption. But you got to admit, there needs to be regulation. Otherwise, this shit is going to happen. So capitalism needs some level of regulation. Otherwise, you get into situations like this.
So I can give you examples of places where regulations can be actually positive to a business. For example, let's say FDA approval.
Yes.
Any product with an FDA approval is obviously valued a lot more. You'll probably spend a bit more, but you can charge a bit more. It's okay. It's FDA approved. More people are going to buy. So I think, so even when I say taxation is theft, it is inherently theft, because you're basically the government's saying, if you don't give me a certain part of your labor, I'm going to put you in jail. If you don't come, I'll probably shoot you. So that's probably the course of action for taxation. But the way people think of taxation, or at least I think of taxation, is that it's an accepted cost that you take in to be a part of let's say a society. For example, when you look at credit card fraud, banks or credit card companies, they're not going to go after every type of credit card fraud. They're only going to go after people who
The big
who
fish.
probably commit the massive or not really massive, somewhere in between massive and the $1,000 credit card fraud. Because if you're going to go after the $1,000 credit card fraud, it's probably going to be a lot more expensive. It's similar to taxation. Like, let's say if you probably don't have taxes to, let's say, build roads, it's probably going to be a lot more expensive when you do it as a community. We don't know, maybe it could be cheaper, but generally speaking, that's an accepted cost we take for the theft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we are about halfway through now, and I know you had a lot of things that you want to talk about, so I just figured I'd let you know. How are we doing?
Oh yeah, we're doing great, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got to read
I'm
some
enjoying
super
this.
chats too, so
And I think I'm less nervous now.
I don't. Yeah, you're doing great, and you had a big long list of things though, and I don't want to get all the way through and not
Oh yeah.
addressing all of them. So here, I'll play a little more of the video, and you can check your list.
Mhm.
Say private prisons to wreak havoc as they do. It has allowed us to very conveniently ignore the humanity of prisoners.
The punitive justice, though, that people want, that's based on emotion, correct? You're saying that is propagandized by our people in power, that we feel that desire for punitive justice because we've been taught to feel that way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I think that our emotional impulses are still the product of societal conditioning that we've received. And
Retard. Total retard. I mean, I can't help it. Oh, so primitive man who didn't have an elite aristocracy lording over him, he didn't feel any injustice when his brother was killed. No, because it wasn't taught to him.
The argument of punitive justice, again, when we're talking economics, none of this makes any sense, because all you're talking about is whether, so it's the classic, I think it's called the economic calculation problem. So again, this is from Mises. So basically, you're trying to rationalize what's an optimal outcome for a particular kind of labor, or let's say for a workforce, but it's only in your view that it's optimal, or only in your view that it's rational. Not like, it's all subjective.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
our conditioning is the product of those who rule over us.
Oh, okay. So let me get to my argument. I was like, let me move on. Obviously, Vaush is an idiot. So let me just move on to the argument.
I think in debates where people make these calls to emotion, the best way to respond is to not respond and just move to the argument itself.
I totally disagree, because that was beautiful. That was a beautiful moment on the internet. Vaush just admitted that when you feel jealous because you found out your girlfriend was cheating on you, that's completely because the aristocracy has taught you to feel that way. It shows the level of
it looks like there's nothing that's inherent to humans. I think
it's completely blank slate.
Aristocrats designing or deciding what people should think.
100% blank slate here. Vaush comes out as a complete blank slater. Come on, that was good. I know it was off topic, but I was like, oh, there's something here to grab onto. Here, let me look. Let me look under the hood here. And I would appreciate. Am I pretty close in steel manning your argument? I mean, I don't want to straw man your argument here, man.
I do believe that a more just society would be one in which people are fairly compensated for their labor. Yes.
And I agree. I agree with you there. Definitely. The society has a lot of moving parts, though. So let me lay out my argument. My argument is from Why Nations Fail. The book came out in 2012. It's by Darren Acemoglu and James A. Robinson. And they basically compare nations all over the world and try to
try to discern why some nations are prosperous and some nations live in poverty. And they lay out 4 essential elements to
So
how nations gain this.
can I chime in? So why some nations are poor and why some nations are rich? If you actually look at the correlation, the richest nations across the planet all have some form of capitalism. Obviously, I'm going to make the socialist I mean, I'm going to give the socialist statement. Real capitalism has never been tried, but it has. There has been some form of capitalism in, nations that are doing well off. Like for actually, India is a very good example. So when India broke its unions, I think in 70s, the wealth rapidly grew across the country, across all all basically people got richer, even the poorest of people. There's still a high poverty rate, but at least during the 70s, that was, I think that was 70s and the 90s was the 2 times where India really took economic freedom to their next levels from where they were. And they just started doing better. So every time there's more market freedom or economic freedom, you're going to do well.
I think I make that argument, don't I? Let me see.
Let's
There's
see,
like
yeah.
the 4 things that I lay out. It's like, let me see if I can remember them. This will be good. See if my nugget's still working. Property rights,
Yeah.
pluralism.
I don't remember that.
What's that?
I don't remember that, but maybe yes, maybe you did say that.
Property rights, pluralism, security. 4 things, huh? Well, I'll go with 3. I don't know. Let's see.
Prosperity. And the first is property rights. Without,
no.
yeah, they say very in very uncertain terms, and they add a lot of different studies behind this. They examine a lot of different nations. In order to incentivize people to work, you have to give them property rights. In order, I was going to ask you, like, how do you feel about innovation? I'm with you that people lived in squalor back then and were taken advantage of, but I think it's less today because of innovation. Are you in favor of innovation, or?
I think that's an extremely leading question. Innovation exists from the labor of workers, not from the profits of capitalists. There were innovations in the Soviet.
No. Again, if I'll give the example of, let's say, a software developer. The innovation does not exist without the idea of the app, the ecosystem of the business set up by the guy who started the business. Like, let's take I think you do bring up Mark Zuckerberg in here, or Elon Musk.
I think, yeah, it totally triggers the shit out of him.
Oh yeah, I think Elon Musk is someone who will trigger him. It definitely looks like the guy who will trigger him. Yeah, but if they are not going to come up with the idea, or like, let's say Tesla, for example, that seemed like an absurd idea in 2014, 2015. I mean,
Hell
2020,
yeah.
everyone's buying a Tesla. Like, I have 2 friends who drive a Tesla, at least. Yeah, I have 2 friends who drive a Tesla. Like, they're my age, they're as young as me, like 26, 25, and they're affording Tesla. There's a reason why it's affordable, and it's an amazing product. The idea that just a bunch of laborers got together and came up with that car, it's not true at all. It's
bullshit.
It's the motivation of the one person who thought this should be possible, and that
Hell
guy
yeah.
lost. I think he was penniless. I don't know. I think he had to use his SolarCity equity to start Tesla.
Elon Musk, yes.
Yeah, he lost a lot of money, is what at least I believe. I don't know.
Elon Musk used all of his PayPal money to invest in Tesla, SpaceX, and I think some solar company.
Yeah, I think it's called SolarCity. Yeah.
When he was starting, go ahead.
If you actually look at SpaceX, like SpaceX is not simply a company that's going to sell a lot of shit. It's only going to probably get some. I mean, there'll be some rent-seeking behavior over there with lobbying and some of the tax breaks and the NASA tie-ups, but mostly it's not a product, but it's innovation, and it's not something that simply I mean, that simply came from a tech worker. The idea and the motivation really matters over there.
Yeah, Elon Musk put together a team. They worked on those rockets every day. They were
Exactly.
doing stuff. They got on an airplane and went over to Russia to literally buy a Russian rocket so they could break it down and see how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Union, and many innovations we rely upon today in the United States are the product of military research. Neither of those things are funded by capitalists.
Wrong.
I agree. Well,
Taxation is funded by the
some back and forth.
capitalists.
But let me finish laying out my argument. So, I'm sorry. Did you say something?
Yeah, I just said that taxes are funded by capitalists.
True.
I mean, innovations in the military, the investments came from probably tax money paid by capitalists, and also I think the only innovation that the military has ever come up with that is significant is the internet. And even when it comes to the internet, I don't think it was made affordable by the military. It was again the capitalists who made it affordable.
The book Why Nations Fail makes a compelling case for consumerism too, because really what got the innovation cycle going was fashion, which is crazy. But people never, and if you think about this, they have this problem in China because it takes a lot to get a population to go out and spend money frivolously, but that's really how you get the economy going. Because economies are driven by demand. The capitalist wants to sell something, and if nobody's out there that wants to buy it, then he's not developing anything to sell. So I'm a huge fan of consumerist behavior after reading that book.
I think it's a combination of both, being very consumerist and also adding new products and services. Because if we are going to massively just consume from whatever products and services that are available, it's still a very slow growth. What we need is new verticals and new types of products that'll probably beat old products. That's perfectly normal, because when I grew up, like, Kodak was a big company. It's non-existent right now.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. The socialists hate fucking consumerism.
Oh my god.
Why don't they just go live in the woods and leave us alone?
Okay, so I've seen them make this argument for taxation, which is if you take money from the rich and give it to the poor, they're going to spend it a lot more, which is basically it's an argument for more consumerism. And also that's so untrue.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
And also it is so so that argument that taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor so that they spend more is true if the rich shove their money up their mattresses. Because generally you have it in a bank, you have it invested somewhere. It's creating more wealth in one way or the other. It's creating more employment, it's creating more products and services, which is actually something that really drives the economy. And only if there's more products and services, we'll have more consumers.
Yeah. I've been reading Warren Mosler's paper. He's the MMT guy, and he has a paper about where the price level originates. That's fucking fascinating. So fascinating. I'm so interested in the economic stuff now, but most of the time inflation is driven by lack of supply. It's very hard to get inflation driven by excess demand, but excess demand is like the holy grail. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
What do you mean by excess demand?
I mean that they've hit, most businesses operate at 50% of capacity. So to hit the inflation level from demand, you have to, the business has to be producing at 100% capacity, and there still be demand for what they're producing.
I think that's consumerism gone amok, running amok, I guess.
I think it's great. Can you imagine? There's so I was listening actually to a talk with Steve Keen. So one of you guys suggested Steve Keen to me, and it's an amazing suggestion. He's great. But he was talking about coming up with a cryptocurrency that loses value very quickly. So it forces you to go out there and spend it, which would create aggregate demand. If someone
Mhm.
gave you like $1,000, but it was going to be worth, half the amount it's worth every day until it's gone, you'd fucking spend that tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'd spend that today, right? You'd be like, okay, well, I'm spending this. That's the way to stimulate the economy. If they actually gave out money like that, people would totally spend it. If the COVID money that went out was like that, it's like the tax is literally built into the money. It's like if you don't spend it now, you lose it.
Oh yes, yes. So that's the inflation problem in 2021, right? It really.
We don't know if
Um,
it's an inflation problem yet. It might just be a one-time tax, a one-time price increase. Prices may go down. Inflation is defined as a repeating increase in
Yes, but
price level.
I don't think spending has been at the same level. Like you mentioned, I don't think the demand has been excessive with the money that
Mhm.
people have got. I mean, that people have received, because what are people going to spend on? Like half of California is locked down, locked down half the time. So
All of the inflation that we're seeing now
Mhm.
is on the supply side. It's disruptions in the supply chain. It's less output,
No,
not excess demand.
I think it's the excess amount of dollars printed.
I disagree. Let me read some super chats.
Mhm.
Uh, inherent of Lady Columbia for $5 says, "Holy fuck, Adam! Is this Sunday stream with Sitch going to be a continuation of the TradCon debate? Now there are 2 video responses to you two." No, it's not actually. We're going to do Ben Shapiro, and we're going to do the Anna Kasparian debate by popular demand.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was actually really, nice to see something like that, because
Very
again,
civil, I know.
yes, because
We're gonna have to ruin that.
so this is something, similar to what, let's say, Lauren Southern is doing right now, which is
Yeah.
basically she's really reaching. I mean, she's really reaching out to all the Twitch socialists, and she's having like very civil discussions. Like, again, I don't think she was racist at any point. She was probably a lot more aggressive than she is right now. Um,
You're
and
talking about Lauren Southern, not Anna
yeah,
Kasparian. Yes, I
yes,
agree.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Lauren
and
Southern has been tarred and feathered by the internet because she's a cute blonde girl and everyone's jealous.
she was aggressive as fuck. The About a couple of years ago, I guess, and
Mm.
she was at, I think, every women's march, going after people, asking them, again, like, if someone's going to do a women march, like, why do you care? Just leave it.
Yeah.
You don't really have to bother people. Let them have their fun, their party. Just let them go back home. Yeah.
Utter nonsense for $5 says, "I used to work at an S-class mechanic shop. They underpaid us in free will and never gave us the wrench we needed to fix our cars." A-Team Supreme. That's right. That's right, bitch. Turn in your S-class. Nobody cares about S-classes. Alex Cares for $5 says, term Pern Supreme. I guess he's saying A-Team Reign Supreme. Coolio. Now I have to go to
So
another place. Go ahead.
yeah. So one thing that, let's say someone like Richard Wolff or Vaush or the Serfs, I think I've seen only these three people talk about market socialism, where what they're trying to say is, try to democratize the workplace, which is, there was a very interesting debate between Vaush and Destiny, where Vaush was pretty much sucking up to Destiny in that, because Destiny was humoring his idea, but then he was asking really tough questions. So this is why that debate, like, it red pilled me, it white pilled me on socialism, that even if people, get their way and implement market socialism, capitalists are pretty smart. What they're going to do in a case like democracy at workplace is basically take a part of their vote and pay them more.
Mhm.
Like, they can just literally pay them more and take away their right to vote. I can sell my vote, right? So I think that's a fair game. So
Hold on. I don't understand what's going on. Are you
Okay.
saying pay them not to work?
No. So what Vaush mentions when it comes to democracy at workplace is
Mhm.
every decision that's going to be made at workplace is going to be voted on I think
Oh, by their vote. Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. I
Yeah,
agree. They're going to just fucking pay them.
I'd any day sell my vote. Like, I hate the concept of voting. I've
Yeah.
never voted, and I'll probably never will. I
Mhm.
probably never will. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately we can't buy your vote, so
I'd love to sell my vote.
that's so bad. Daniel Chihote for $5 says, man doesn't want to survive. He needs to thrive. That is a human condition. Otherwise, we'd still be in caves, only concerned about the next meal. I completely agree. That's why we should be a consumerist culture. We should be concerned about things as
Mhm.
meaningless as fashion. Utter Nonsense for $2 says, Asian expat, do you have any book YouTube channel recommendations?
Book. I think one of the books
Don't say
that
Mises.
no, it's not Mises. No, it's not Mises. The book that probably influenced me the most is this really small book by Hitchens called Letters to a Young Contrarian.
Mhm.
I really love that book. I've read that book multiple times, actually.
Who is it?
And
Who is it again?
Christopher Hitchens,
Oh, Hitchens. I'm
the
not sure.
greatest anti-theist to have
I
ever
know.
lived. Yeah.
But it's not his Religion Poisons Everything book, right? It's a different book.
No, it's different. And if you really want to enjoy some great writing on politics, there's this book called The New Right by Michael Malice. If you
Mhm.
know Michael Malice,
Oh no.
oh my God, I love the guy. He's a troll. I love trolls online.
I almost got The New Right by Michael Malice. I was listening to his talk with Jordan Peterson,
Mhm.
and then he said
Unity is fascism.
well, no, he said like policing it is immoral, and I was like, okay, I'm not
So
reading his book. This is
okay.
bullshit. He's a moron.
So I partly do agree with him, which is okay. I'm not completely anti-police. So when we look at like let's say we try to define police. Are we saying someone who protects private and property rights, or are we saying law enforcement officers? Because if these are two different things, or can be two different things, because if we are calling them, let's say, someone who just protects private and property rights, that's I think that's that's great. I think that's something that we all need. If we are talking about law enforcement, what kind of law are we talking about, and are the police ready to not enforce a particular unjust law?
Mhm.
So the best example is, again, what's happening in, let's say, Australia or France right now,
Sure.
which is really absurd laws. Even in the US, with respect to, at least to this day and age, where you don't really have to police some communities for drug busts. It doesn't make any sense. There are two people who are probably ruining their lives. It's totally fine. It's up to them. Again, this is an uncapped take, but um, it's up to them. I don't think the police have any business in a transaction like that. Again, it's fair. They're doing what they're doing. There's no victim over there, uh, unless there's a crime. Obviously, in that case, yes, we do need the police in such cases. And I do understand that majority of the police shootings have some kind of threat to violence, I believe. At least that's what I've seen most of you guys say. I haven't really done a lot of research on that.
Alex cares for $5. Also, Adam, the upcoming Sitch and Adam game. Do not fear the copy strike for music, or do fear the copy strike if it happens. I am the one who gets the money. Oh, he's there. You can find music there. YouTube has a channel that has all music that's paid for by YouTube that you can use. So if you use music from there, you'll be fine. Modern Day Debate for $2 says, check your privilege, Adam. I think I read that already, but I always check my privilege and make sure that it hasn't escaped me. The Butter Anvil for $5 says, hey, Adam, I'm leaving for the airport to demobilize in a few hours. Can't wait to get home, drink, and lick my girlfriend's abs. Hi, chat. I'll lick my girlfriend's abs. Well, my girlfriend is my wife now, but I'll lick my wife's abs tonight for you. Let's all lick abs tonight in solidarity for how crazy it is that licking abs is like degenerate, supposedly. V Radio for $5 says, sociology is still a science. What is currently passing for science in sociology would not have passed years ago. Grievance studies affairs. Yes, exactly. Jonathan Haidt.
Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan Haidt's work. I mean, he's basically, he tried to make moral
think-
foundations theory as scientific as humanly possible. Go ahead.
So I think it was Peter Bogosian who came up with the name grievance studies. I think it's the best way to explain
It is.
these academic journals. Like it's one of the most effective ways as well, because they're literally grievance studies. The only thing that they're doing is saying a bunch of people are bad, or we as a bunch of people are bad and we should be doing something about it, although you can't point to what exactly is bad. Like, I don't know. So I actually had this interesting conversation once with a white person, and she was trying to convince me that America is a racist country. The police were actually the original purpose of the police in the US is to be racist. Blah blah blah. They're not. I mean, America is not welcome for immigrants, etc., etc. I've tried to argue in good faith for a long time with that person, but in the end, I was so frustrated. The only thing the last thing that I told her was, the only kind of racism I faced in the US is someone gaslighting me that America is racist to me.
Oh no. Oh,
Yeah.
you threw her under the bus. She was like, I know who you're talking about.
I don't
Ah.
know. I was probably just frustrated when I did that. Yeah, but it's actually definitely very exhausting when you're trying to convince someone that they are not racist.
See, you got to
Like-
adopt my philosophy. You can't change people's minds. I totally buy into what John McWhorter is saying. This
You
is a
literally-
religion.
okay.
This is a religion. They didn't reason themselves into this position. You're not going to reason them out of
I-
it. It's a religion.
Every Sunday, you guys call
It
yourselves
is.
centrists. You should be changing people's minds. That's why, again, like I think in the list of things that I wanted to talk about, I did mention why you guys are important as well. So there are a bunch of YouTube creators that I really do enjoy. One is Bridget Fetisi, if you know her. She's a
Maybe.
comedian, and there's another guy called Siraj Hashmi, who is a journalist, and there's you guys, and there's Destiny. These are people who are really trying to pull the fringes together and get them towards the center. Like they're legitimately trying to make people agree on most things. Like this one debate between Lauren. So it was between Lauren and Actual Justice Warrior against Destiny and some other dude. I don't remember his name, but
Yeah, I
it
listened
was
to part of it.
it was really amazing because they literally agreed on everything.
Yeah, hilarious.
The only thing that they were probably not agreeing on was what they believed to be the definition of systemic racism. So on Actual Justice Warrior side, what they thought systemic racism was that it is institutional racism. But then Destiny explained what exactly systemic racism is, and they agreed with him. The these conversations, generally Destiny talking to like some really dark people and changing their mind, it really matters.
Well,
And
I'm careful because I don't think you can force people to change their minds.
no,
People do.
you can't force, but maybe you can you can pull them closer to your ideas, and you can probably get
I
closer
think
to
we
their
do
ideas
that.
as well. Yeah.
I think we do that, but I think where people run astray is like you thinking that you're going to change your friend's mind. Your friend has to change her own mind. You can be an example to her. What you did was probably not a good example to her, but
But there are obviously a lot of bad faith actors. I don't think there's any recourse for someone who's on someone like let's say Hassan. I really don't think there's any way to get him to agree with anything with you. Like if he will walk into even the serfs, they're going to walk into an argument saying these people are like, the best example is the Count Dankula and Vaush.
yes,
Vaush decided before going into the debate, like Count Dankula was literally explaining how he is not racist and how he is not white supremacist. Vaush kept saying, you guys won't admit that you're like, what else can you reply to a statement like that? You guys won't admit. So okay, what now? Like, what are we going to discuss next? Like, there's literally no way you can convince some of these people that you're not racist or you're not bigoted. They're just not, like, they're just acting in bad faith. It's the same with the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. I actually got banned for a day for a tweet on that. But even the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, the Vaush and Destiny, where Vaush just wouldn't admit that he's wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If you're acting in bad faith, I don't think people should waste their energy there. Yeah. But
Gobbles
you can hold
Gobbles for 20 knock dollars says, just pirated the righteous mind. Shorts can win.
Oh my God.
Kisses. I don't get my cut when you pirate it. Come on, don't do that. Well, actually, I would rather you read it. Sorry, John. I would rather you read the book than not read it. So I feel like if people read that book, society would be in a lot better place.
You just gave an argument against IP.
Yeah.
Intellectual property rights.
I know. But I did say I felt bad about it. So hopefully that did some work. Doomer Media, which it looks like Doomer changed his channel. I watched his video, his update video, where he was talking about how, and I'm super excited to see some Doomer Media film reviews. I'm stoked. He's going to do movie type stuff. So
his video on
awesome.
Vaush was amazing.
Yeah, totally.
He laid everything out, perfectly.
Yeah.
I think it's a well-researched video. Like, he has given citations to each of these arguments that he was making about Vaush. It was good.
Right. Much better research than the super chat, because his super chat is completely fake news. Doomer Media for $2 says MMT stands for misleading monetary theory. Doomer needs to do his homework on MMT before he starts dropping super chats like that. But I will take the $2 regardless. I hope it's freshly printed money, so it's worth more. Kiss My Ass for $5 says, wouldn't printing money to fund COVID aid, which amounts to paying people to stay home, screw up both the demand and supply?
I think this is inflation
prices? Yeah, this is the argument that I got in with Academic Agent. I made this argument that the exact scenario that you lay out here, Kiss My Ass. I'm not, Kiss My Ass is their name. I'm not saying Kiss My Ass, but this scenario is creating the de facto equivalent of full employment. And full employment is what creates inflation. This was my argument to Academic Agent. Academic Agent said,
But
oh, that's total bullshit. Did a live stream. 2 weeks later, Academic Agent makes a video that makes this argument in it, my argument, which was fucking hilarious. So,
but right now there's a problem with unemployment. I mean, I don't think people are accepting jobs, at least low-paying jobs, because they're being at least they were paid with the stimulus for a
not to
while.
work.
Yeah, they were paid not to work, and I think that is a rational decision. Actually, that's an optimal decision there. If you're going to get paid more than your paycheck, why would you work?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Gemini Samimi for $2 says, degenerate chat, only licking Adam's abs is paid. You're funny. You're definitely funny. What is this? Error,
What's 200 DKK?
I don't know. Eric of Eoric for 200 DKK says, hi, Adam. Hello, Eric. Probably butchering your name, and I do apologize for that. But so we still have like 20 minutes. I finished the super chat. So
yeah.
do you want to go back to your list, or you want to do more of the debate?
I can. I'll go back to the list. So
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to discuss about why this this set of creators who are more in the center are like super important. Like, let's take Destiny for example. I think he really red pilled me on a bunch of things. For example, systemic racism is one thing. I could learn a lot from him. I really did change my mind on that. Another thing is probably Jordan Peterson.
Can you give us what changed your mind with Destiny about systemic racism? Do you remember what his argument was?
So the way at least I thought, which I think is completely wrong right now, is that if people are going to commit more crimes, they're going to get arrested a lot more. But what exactly are these crimes is a big question to ask. And when you ask that question, you will probably look at how laws, maybe not necessarily created to hurt people, but laws that were created in the past over time set into motion a series of large scale events in specific populations where they end up getting into a black hole sort of situation where they cannot come out of that poverty. Like that's I think that's the crime bill with respect to the crack and the powdered cocaine bill. Like, it's generally laws, like there could be laws that affect specific demographics based on their cultural or even situational choices that they make, and that could really affect specific races. That's what he explains systemic racism is. I the way I thought of it was basically, you know what, if you commit a crime, like even if it's a victimless crime, don't commit it because it's called a crime. You'll probably go to jail. I really do change my mind on that.
That is the Ibram X. Kendi definition of systemic racism as well.
But I don't think these are. I don't think systemic racism is something that you can simply solve by shit like equity. I'm sorry, it exists, but I don't know what the solution is.
Well, it's a lot easier if we're talking about incarceration. Like if we're looking at incarceration, we have a crime that we can look at. We can see how that we can examine that. But if we're looking at things like yearly income, that's a little bit more difficult.
This is another thing that I really had a tough time explaining to some feminists, which is the idea of pink tax. So, and this is something that Destiny White or red pilled me on Jordan Peterson, which is sometimes some things that Jordan Peterson explains can be slightly careless. For example, in the Kathy Newman interview, I think she says something like, a pink bicycle helmet is going, or a pink bicycle is going to cost a lot more than a blue bicycle, which is basically the idea of pink tax. Now, Jordan Peterson's explanation to that is, you know what, guys just don't. I mean, they're not going to, put up with it. That's the only reason why it's priced less. There's actually an economic explanation to this, which is, again, you can just use
Women
Jordan
pay more
Peterson.
for stupid shit.
No, you can actually use Jordan Peterson's own words to explain this, which is, he does cite that most of the marketplace decisions or consumer decisions are made by women, so they're actually interacting a lot more with the market.
Oh, they know
So-
women will pay more.
So it's not simply that. So this is something that I hate about pink tax, is that we call it a pink tax. It's not exactly a pink tax. It's actually a blue discount if you look at it. It's basically making people interact a lot more with market. Like, for the best example I can give for this is, so I watch a lot of soccer. I'm a Manchester United fan, and I do buy their jersey regularly. So if you go onto their website and look at the cost of jerseys, I literally did this when I thought of it. If you go onto their website and look for the cost of the jerseys, the women's jerseys actually cost less. That's because more men are interacting with that particular marketplace.
Sure.
So it's actually in this case it's a pink discount. It's basically a way to get more women to interact with the market and buy more. It's
Buy our
the same.
jerseys. Come on.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the pink tax, which is truly a blue discount. You just want more men to spend more time at your store and buy a bunch of things, or at least if you spend more time, you're going to spend more money on things.
Supply
Like,
and
you're just
demand,
going
baby.
to go for the extra $50 on a particular item.
Supply and demand is everything. It really is. It's like it supply and demand is as important as the selection, variation, reproduction of evolution. Supply and demand is just like that algorithm that really matters.
So that's the real problem with something like calculating or trying to understand what value of labor is. There's no particular algorithm to calculate the value of labor. The only way you can calculate that is based on supply and demand, and that's totally subjective.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
again, it's just basically people making rational choices, and that's if there's let's say, for example, there's every time you create an extra. Okay, I'll give employment as the best example. If you look at it as horizontal and vertical grid, if you look at every horizontal line as a person and every vertical line as business, there's more value to adding a vertical line because it creates more supply of products. So it's mostly just adding more value to what we
What is
have.
a vertical line? What do you mean by a vertical line?
So a new vertical, you can call a new vertical as a new business.
Right. Yes. So selling something new instead of trying to re-engineer the hamburger. You're like, I'm going to come up with a new hamburger, something brand new, no one's ever heard of, that I can corner the market on it.
And the supply is not really high on that because you're a new vertical and you're unique as a vertical.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Bull Moose for $4.99 says the funniest thing about that guy named Doomer is that the fact he blew up for such pure quality is literally the biggest white pill on YouTube. That's so true. That's so true. Yes. Yeah.
So again, it reminds me of another guy I follow on Twitter who is Siraj Hashmi. I think he's one of the funniest dudes on Twitter. So if you know him, he's the guy who maintains something called the list.
Mhm.
So every time someone gives, so the criteria to be added to the list is you have to have a blue check mark on your account, and if
Mhm.
you take a dumb take on Twitter, he's going to put you on the list. There are people who've had legitimate meltdowns over this
Mhm.
because they were added to the list. Like there were people who people block him continue. I mean, people always block him when he puts them on the list. I think he's put people like Joe Biden, Donald Trump on the list
Mhm.
for their horrible tweets.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
That's
he's a super
fascinating.
funny dude. Yeah, and he actually, so he did put this one journalist on the list for her horrible take, and
Mhm.
she had a complete meltdown in the DMs with him, and and then after a point, she actually I think disabled her Twitter account,
Who cares? Who cares?
and then Siraj Hashmi basically just told that the list works.
Who
It's
ca
basic.
I
The
guess
list,
so.
is defined as basically, the list of people who deserve their phones to be taken away. So the moment the moment she closed her Twitter account, he's like, yeah, the list works. She's not
That's
going to tweet
awesome.
anymore. Yeah.
Eoric of Eoric gave me another 100 DKKs, which is awesome.
What's DKK?
I don't know. Danish krone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There you go.
So
I read Bill Moose. Let's see here. Oh, another one.
Hmm.
Eric of Eoric. Eric of Eric. Am I getting closer? Another 50 DKKs. Oh, OM Imperial Gatekeeper. Is OM short for something? Maybe oh my Imperial Gatekeeper. That's right. I'm here to gatekeep the world. Not really. I'm a terrible gatekeeper. That's a Comicsgate thing. Everyone always accuses people of gatekeeping. Oh my God, you're gatekeeping. Stop gatekeeping. Stop gatekeeping me, bro. Don't gatekeep. I mean, you got to gatekeep a little on your channel and like your house and stuff. I mean,
if you actually follow, I think you do follow the Twitch socialists. The way they gatekeep is insane. Like banning people off of their, off of their community is something that's something unheard of, at least to me, because I've mostly followed people like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson, and mostly the big slightly libertarian, maybe conservative content creators. But then I came across the BreadTube, and it was actually hilarious going through the BreadTube videos, the way they talk as if the things that they are talking about are serious problems, which are not.
yeah. Yeah, they're giant gatekeepers. They are. I'm surprised we've talked to as many of them as we have. I thought it was cool that Big Joel talked to us. Surfs, I mean, as much of a moron as he is, he did come on our show, and I thought it was a fun conversation. And he didn't savage us after the fact, which I think the only reason he didn't was because I accused him of potentially doing that. I said he was going to do it because of the Andrew Yang stuff. I thought he was setting up to do it, but
Oh yes, I saw you call him out for that. Actually,
yeah.
you do talk a lot about UBI. What do you think is? What is your idea behind the UBI?
I would love for UBI to work, because I think UBI would take a lot of excuses away from people that they have for why they can't succeed. I think UBI would take a lot of those excuses off the table.
So, that's true. But when you say UBI, you're saying universal basic income. Are you saying every person gets a particular basic income, or
Yes.
is it only unemployed people?
Universal basic income would be given to every single person, and they would be given enough money that they could not rent an apartment on their own or buy. They could feed themselves with the UBI, but I want it structured so people have to, like, you could rent an apartment with a roommate or get married and rent an apartment with your wife and live off of the UBI. But I'm afraid people would get antisocial if you gave them enough UBI that they could just get an apartment and not interact with anyone in a healthy relationship.
So don't you think you're basically creating a situation where people start at $1,000 a month instead of $0? It's just basically moving the entire. What I'm trying to say is it's going to shift the prices as well. If you have, let's say you pay everyone $1,000 a month. That's a huge amount, but let's say you pay $1,000 a month to everyone. All the prices are going to increase as well, right?
This is the argument that you're making. I've heard a billion times, because this is the argument everyone makes when they're talking about UBI. This is why I've been reading Mosler's papers on the origin of price levels, because that's the key. Warren makes an argument that price levels are determined by the government because the government spends the money first, and the government spends at a certain level. So if I spend $50,000 a year for soldiers, those soldiers, the money is worth a certain amount to them. So they're only going to buy hamburgers at a certain level because they do the equation in their head. I had to work this hard for this money, so I'm not going to, obviously, $1 is okay for a hamburger, but $5, I'm not buying hamburgers. So that's the origin of the price level. But if you, as the government, decided you were going to pay soldiers to do the same amount of work, $100,000 a year, then all of a sudden that would change the price level, because a soldier would go to the hamburger place and say, now $2 doesn't seem like that bad a deal for a hamburger. And then that goes all throughout the system, which is a super interesting concept.
So this is the reason why I'm. So again, I do have an idea for UBI, but it's not universal. So the problem I see with this type of UBI is, again, it's similar to inflation, where you give people a bunch of you give people a lot of money, they have a lot of money to spend, so prices are going to rise, is at least my rationale behind that. But again, I really have to read a lot about UBI, and the only idea I've had that I want to work on going forward is basically trying to have a fixed pie UBI. So let's say you take a certain percentage of the tax money and fix it as the UBI budget, let's say. Now, if more people are going to take that, the less people are going to get. So that way, I think people will be able to make a rational choice between whether they can work or take the basic income. So it's again only specific for unemployed people. It's not going to be for employed people. So it's basically trying to incentivize people to work. And as more people enter the workforce, it's going to accelerate because there's more part of the budget left for people. Now, people can think, what, maybe I can get a bit more from the UBI instead of my salary. When they get back, the pie is the pie is going to, at least the share of the pie is going to decrease. So I think there could be a balance there in getting more people out of such situations. At least that's what I thought of when I was thinking about UBI.
Lucifer the Doberman for 10 Canadians sent me a super sticker that looks way cooler in the chat than it does here. So I apologize for that. It's a animated person. I don't really know what you'd even call it, jumping around saying #1 fan, which is pretty cool. I have Lucifer the Doberman for another 10 Canadian says, have you and Sitch talked about getting Lauren Southern on the Sunday stream? No, we haven't. Sitch was super. I mean, I would always sing praises about Lauren Southern, and Sitch was a little hesitant because he's like, I don't want to get in another no bullshit
I
situation.
think so. If you have you seen her documentary, The Borderless?
I think I watched it a long time ago, but it seemed pretty milquetoast. It didn't seem like terrible.
Oh, I thought it was great.
Oh, okay.
I think over the course of making that documentary, she had a change of mind as to what exactly is happening with all of the refugee crisis in the I mean in Eastern Europe and
She mentioned
further
it
in
on
Germany.
She mentioned it on the talk with Viva Fry that she said that a lot of the immigrants were being sold
Yes.
like
So
a pipe dream about America and really being taken advantage of. They were
yes,
giving a bunch of money to coyotes and being sold into slavery in some cases, which is just, I mean, it's awful.
yeah. So I think she really again toned down on the immigration stuff when she was making that documentary. At least that's what I believe. So yeah, that's actually a great documentary. And I think Sid should probably have her on. At least I've always enjoyed her content. So
Well, the thing is, she's huge.
she
Like we're nobodies. And a lot of times people reach out to us to come on our show. I mean, we just did a podcast with Kurt Metzger. He's like way bigger than us. And I think Kurt and Kyle Dunnigan, I think it is Kyle Dunnigan, the guy that's doing all those great Biden videos, Biden as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think they're going to come on. I think they seemed interested in coming on. So people reach out to us and they want to come on. And like Shu basically reached out to us and wanted to come on. Shu had wanted to come on for a long time.
She's super funny on Twitter.
Yeah. So I mean, Shu just kind of followed me out of the blue and was like, "Yeah, I want to come on sometime." So or I guess her fans were saying you should go on Sitch and Adam. So that's why. So I mean, yeah, Lauren Southern. I mean, I think I've had some DMs with Sitch about Lauren Southern, and I think he's come around to the position you just laid out, expat, about, yeah, she's not, we're not going to be in a no bullshit situation where, well, we are in that people are going to call her a Nazi, but she's not really going to be a Nazi.
Yeah. Again, she's one of those people from maybe 2015 to 2017 who was grossly,
mischaracterized. Like Jordan Peterson, same thing.
Oh my god, that's a different. So I actually had my graduation ceremony about a week ago, and I did wear a Jordan Peterson tie, so as in the lobster tie. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson, but then the way people characterize him is really gross.
Yeah, totally offensive.
Yeah, I mean he's a professor. Like the way he talks is going to be slightly, at least it's going to come from a point of authority. At least he tries not to do that, but it does in a way. I think that puts people off. But the accusation is, I mean, it's unwarranted. I don't think it's actually healthy.
Hey, Entropic, I see you in the chat. I know that you were the one that got banned on the Sunday show, and I don't really know what was going on there because you were having a back and forth with Sitch, and I do admit Sitch got a little triggered. So I'm not sure. Like you're saying now in the debate, you're saying now in my chat, I'm not a Nazi either. Sitch called me one. If that happened, I do, like, I feel terrible about that. Like, obviously we don't want to. Sometimes on a live show, it's difficult to assess exactly what's going on. So obviously, we'll get it worked out. I noticed how I put up this article on UBI and modern monetary theory, and now my numbers are going up. We're up to 213 viewers now. So people obviously are interested in modern monetary theory. So we're getting more and more. But I have to duck out here in like 5 minutes. So expat. What's on your list? What did we miss? Did we miss anything? Or
no, I think we went through all of it. Yeah,
this was a great conversation, man. Thanks for reviewing What would you say? What is the broad strokes on this debate? Did I guess you already said I kind of lost to Vaush because I didn't bring up
No, you didn't
Adam
lose.
Smith.
So it wasn't just good for aesthetics. I'm not going to say you have to bring Adam Smith. Maybe any economist would generally work. But the problem is not everyone's going to read a book when they're talking about economics. Like it's I think it's more effective to maybe cite an economist. Again, I really don't care about any of these citations. For me, it's pretty simple. It's based on individual rationale. That's it.
I'm gonna look up I'm gonna check real quick why nations fail, because I do believe
What's the genre?
that both Darren Acemoglu and James A. Robinson are economists. Darren Acemoglu right here is Darren Acemoglu is a Turkish-born American economist who is taught at Massachusetts.
Oh, they're both economists.
Yeah.
Okay, my
James A. Robinson is a British economist and political scientist.
Yeah.
He is currently the Reverend. Yeah, that's why I'm like fuck you, Vaush. Like fuck you, fuck all of your Vaush stands. Yeah, I'm bringing up. Not only that, these are left-wing economist guys. So Vaush should just fucking take the L, okay?
I did not read the book, so maybe that's why I was probably put off. That case, yeah, it definitely works out. Yeah. But generally speaking, since I do follow a lot of Austrian economics, I tried again. I'm going to bring it up because it's really important. I try to stay away from studies or citations. It's trying to use basic human rationale to explain things.
No, it's using empiricism, though. That's the thing. I understand that the Mises guys and the Austrian economics, they're rationalists. They want to put together just an argument. But I'm an empiricist. I want evidence. And these economic systems are so complex that you don't know, because it's like a game. There are so many different players in the game that once you change the rules, you don't know how the players will react.
I do agree, but if you're entering a debate between capitalism and socialism, I think the complexity is it's not going to come into the picture.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I do thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you also for the generous super chats you gave me. So and we should do this again. We should talk next time about like MMT or something.
Yep.
Because it'd be fun.
I'll probably research a bit more on that. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your generous super chats.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yes. And we will see you all next week, next Thursday, same time. Let me think. What am I doing next? V Radio.
UBI?
V Radio is actually in the chat. V Radio is going to be on next week, and we're going to talk about, I think, UBI, actually. Yeah. So I should send V Radio that.
I
article.
disagree with the comment, but I'll leave it there. Yeah.
What does he say? Levin, both capitalism and communism can come in state and non-state forms. Yeah.
Communism has to come in a state form, but I'll leave it there.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.